Albanese seems confident on the campaign trail, but behind the scenes, there's internal disunity consuming the party. Labor insiders reveal that Albanese, convinced he's going to win, is drawing up a list of those who turned against him when his chips were down. The vibe around Albanese is that he's flying now. He's set to win comfortably, even pick up some seats. That's what he's telling people. And he's looking at who stuck with him during the difficult months when he was flailing politically and it looked like he was in trouble. Albanese and those closest to him are carefully examining who peeled off, who was with him and who wasn't. One Labor source told me there's definitely a list being drawn up about who stuck with him. The Treasurer is not on that list. You recall how right after the 2022 election, Albanese unceremoniously dumped popular political rival Tanya Plibersek from her beloved education portfolio and stuck her in a lower profile portfolio designed to hurt her support, where she'd come up against the environmentalists. This is the fate that awaits those perceived to have abandoned Albanese in recent months. Labor operative Cameron Milner said Albanese has been known for being deeply paranoid and vengeful like this his whole political life. Labor MPs were expecting the election to go poorly, a minority government at best, and they were starting to prepare for that outcome. And even ministers were privately speaking about the prospect of a first-term loss and a Dutton win. Now, we reported that Tony Burke was already making moves for a future potential leadership run. It's a theme others knew about and was canvassed in the media. The Prime Minister was less than pleased with this. Now, Labor MP Josh Burns is another who's not in Albanese's good books, all for the crime of inviting Tanya Plibersek to launch his campaign office. He wrote here on Instagram, a special shout out to my friend and powerhouse, Tanya Plibersek, for kicking us off. And Plibersek, meanwhile, has posted a selfie to Instagram with the Treasurer just last week, where she wrote, "Really proud of this guy."
So just coming out of the budget, super proud of what Treasurer Jim Chalmers delivered tonight.
And in truth, the Prime Minister considers both Jim Chalmers and Tanya Plibersek future leadership rivals and a threat to him. Perhaps because they're both, quite obviously, smarter than him. There was also a profile piece on Plibersek in March where a source was quoted as saying that compared to Tanya, Albo comes across as an ineffectual buffoon. He's weak, he's arrogant, he can't handle criticism, and he's not connecting with the electorate to the point where Peter Dutton, of all people, could win the election. Albo's been a disaster. So there you go, an ineffectual buffoon. That was from a Labor source. No suggestion the source was connected to Plibersek. Now, Plibersek, in this same profile piece where she was interviewed, praised Jim Chalmers' job on the economy. And meanwhile, Chalmers has fielded more than his fair share of leadership speculation.
How are you feeling about the election? Because if the government was to lose, your favourite to become opposition leader.
Look, I spent all of my time thinking about the budget and the economic plan and what we would do as a government and as a country if we win the election. I spent absolutely no time thinking about what I would do if we lost the election. I'd much rather be the Treasurer of Australia than the Leader of the Opposition. I enjoy the work I do for Anthony and our team. We work very, very closely together.
Now, Chalmers can't be accused of disloyalty. This is all about the Prime Minister's insecurities and who he perceives to be his rivals. Now, I put questions to the Prime Minister's head of communications today, Fiona Sugden. I asked about Albanese and his inner circle, drawing up lists of who worked against him when it looked like his political fortunes were suffering. Her response? A laughing face emoji. Now, this story has come from Labor insiders. It's, of course, well-sourced. Yet this is the childish response from the Prime Minister's office on day 5 of a 5-week campaign. It's extraordinary. I can genuinely say a Prime Minister's media office has never responded to questions with an emoji before. It shows, perhaps, how arrogant Albanese is. And it comes a day after we learned he wouldn't adopt a single outcome from our Sky News Anti-Semitism Summit. It's incredibly disrespectful. But irrespective of this juvenile response, the reality is that Albanese is carefully looking at who stood by him in the period when it looked like momentum was against him. He's noting who was preening their own leadership credentials or cozying up to an alternative leader. This isn't about loyalty, though. It's about disunity now. It shows how, for Albanese, politics isn't about the governing of the nation. It's about personal factions and vendettas. He accused Peter Dutton, both yesterday and today, of measuring the curtains in the Lodge or in Kirribilli House. But Albanese is already looking at who to promote and demote from the ministry based on perceived loyalty, based on who launched their campaign or who told journalists they had leadership ambitions. This is toxic disunity from Labor right at the start of an election campaign. And if the Prime Minister isn't careful, his hubris and appetite for revenge will come back to bite him.